The post-millennial FAA investigates counterfeit titanium used in Boeing Airbus jets report. So we had all these problems with Boeing, but now it's Boeing and Airbus. And I don't know how serious this is, but they say the FAA is investigating how counterfeit titanium has been used in some components on Boeing and Airbus jets. Concerns have been raised with the structural integrity of some of the aircraft as a result. This comes as whistleblowers have been sounding the alarm on faulty safety practices in Boeing manufacturing facilities and practices. The reason why I want to jump in this is because we're kind of talking about DEI and race stuff. And this is a component. What's happening in airlines with diversity hiring, what's happening in the medical field. Last week, when I was over at the poker tables, as you know, I always am, there was an older guy who's like a retired airline worker who is complaining to some of the people at the table about how he's glad he's out of the industry because they've completely stopped the safety tests. Like he was basically saying like the barriers that were put in place to make sure these things are working have been slowly stripped away. And people who are not qualified are now in these positions. This is how you end up with fake titanium in jets, which may be not so structurally sound. And the fascinating thing is we know the diversity hiring, where the goal is to get a person based on race instead of merit. We know it's been happening, and it will result in problems, and these problems keep popping up.
This apparently, and I didn't read this from the post-millennial, I'm reading it from the artificial intelligence that answered my search query, says that the counterfeit titanium was purchased from a little-known Chinese company and was sold with falsified documents. Then used in parts that went into jets from both Boeing and Airbus, including landing gears, blades, and turbine discs.
This is actually, if I understand correctly, this is typical of China, right? Like obviously they'll go ahead and spoof or make their own versions of Apple products and they sell them all over China and stuff like that. So the idea that they counterfeit things, I mean, that's kind of standard operating procedure in China, you know?
I wonder if they sold them domestically to themselves or if this was like an external...
I bet they didn't. Well, actually, no, I take that back because I've heard their buildings fall down sometimes too, so I don't know.
Who was this little-known Chinese company? Give me a name.
I don't know, but I probably can't pronounce it.
Whenever I ride on take these airplanes now, I'm like, oh, dear God, what am I doing?
I feel like...
Why am I not flying Frontier every
I feel
time?
like that's the point, though. It does kind of seem strange that we had this big Green New Deal thing where they said people need to stop flying on planes, and then all of a sudden we get wave after wave of stories suggesting that the planes are gonna fall out of the sky.
You know what I do every time I buy a flight on Google? It gives you the CO2. I just buy the highest one.
Paying it forward.
Got to warm up New Hampshire a little bit.
That's right. I'm pro global warming because I hate the winter in New Hampshire.
Exactly.
If you can push winter back to starting at like the end of November and finishing by March 1, I'm in.
If India wants to complain that we're ruining their farming, I want a payment because this is good for America. Okay, you're asking. Global warming is good for America. It's going to improve. Arable farmable land in North America. This is good for us. So I think these countries who don't want it, they got to pay us.
Yeah, that is something that people don't think about. Like apparently, like the additional oxygen not oxygen, CO2. It does make plants grow better. Like if you have a higher CO2 level, it does make plants actually grow better.
Yeah, there's a great study out of MIT that compares the relative productivity changes of land under various global warming scenarios, and a bunch of places get better. There are clearly areas that get worse. Sure. So I'm not but there are clearly areas that get better. And so again, stopping global warming is a real cost because energy is an input to everything. So if we're doing it to help the places that are getting worse, I think the places that would have gotten better should deserve payments from the places that would have gotten worse. And this would be the equitable way to address the problem.
Opportunity cost. You're right. Yeah, because Canada's set to become a blooming ecosystem,
right? And Russia too. Like, why would you be aligned with this?
And Canada's got a lot of land.
Talk about a nation being cucked. I can't imagine being a Canadian and being against global warming. How pathetic.
Well, it's because you're gonna have a bunch of southern border migration. You'll have a border crisis in no time.
I've made the open statement that once Canada actually becomes full communist and they lock everything down, people on the way through, they can get over the border into New Hampshire. I will give them a place to stay for the night, wash their clothes, but they can't stay at my house forever. They have to keep going. But you can sleep. You can get a good night's sleep, and I'll let you use the bathroom and wash and stuff like that.
I know a guy in New Hampshire who says he'll pick up any Canadian, no questions asked. So you get across the border, he'll pick you up, drop you. We need to get people out of that failing country.
Absolutely.
We need
before Trudeau gets them.
I'm not for some kind of migrants coming here, but if you're a pro-gun Canadian, get here.
Come on.
Anyway, get here anyway.
Come on down.
I will help you out. I will make sure that you have a safe place to go, and I will make sure that the Royal mounted Canadian police are not welcome on my property.
we need an underground railroad out of Canada.
Legally.
The Americans
come legally.
could not have
that's right.
broken away from the British Empire without the French, and now I think we owe it to the Canadians to break away from the British Empire.
No. They had their chance. We asked Quebec if they wanted to join. There were 14 colonies. It wasn't just 13. Quebec said no.
Yeah.
And it could have been the United States with Quebec, but they don't want to do it.
I encourage the English-speaking Canadians to get through Montreal. You French-speaking Canadians, you can stay up there.
We almost took Montreal as well.
Also, as Western
War of
Europe
1812.
falls, some of those people could come over here too. Yeah, the better ones. Again, a lot of them we don't want. But a couple of Western Europeans, we'll take some of those. There's some good, let's take that.
Too many communists in the East.
America's sucked all the good people out of Europe for like several centuries, right? So you kind of left.
countries,
You're left with all the And I'm for good. There are good migrants. They're good. Good immigration come from anywhere. I do.
We brought all the smart minds here and then poisoned them with high fructose corn syrup. What?
Fluoride,
Oh my God, that's what we were doing.
plastics, fluoride, pesticides, atrazine, etc.
I think it's a good indictment of your country if the biggest failure is cheap, abundant calories.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. We have fat homeless people. Mm-hmm. That's wild.
I saw a chart that it's something like 60 or 70% of Americans now are overweight, like at least some kind, if they're not like obese.
The average.
And I think that's a big reason why people aren't having more kids. Nobody finds anybody attractive.
It's also hard to get it up if you're fat. All that blood flow circulation gets cut off, and that makes it challenging to just get it on in general. I heard. Keep that blood flow.
Studies say.
I heard.
Keep those your lower gut calisthenics active. Stay healthy. Stay stretched out.
So check this out. The average height, according to GPT, of an American male is 5'9", and the average weight is 197.9 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Let's do...
What's the BMI
I'll
on
do
that?
women.
What's the average weight of a dad?
The average height of an American female is 5'4", and the average weight is 170
Oh, God.
pounds.
Oh my God!
That's adults. I assume this is adults.
This is one of those things where you
Ladies.
you end up in such bubbles. You're so out of touch.
Yep, just adults. Wow, dude. That's crazy.
I've been eating a lot of cholesterol.
170.
I'm pretty meticulous with my diet. This last week I had a bunch of cheese puffs. They're healthier cheesy puffs, but like a lot of them. And the cholesterol has caused me to gain a type of weight that I'm not used to gaining. It's like a type of fat that's like, ooh, my skin's getting thin. This gross fat. Like, I think it's a lot of cholesterol in people's diets. They got to cut back on. Do some healthy cholesterol.
Phil, I'll go first to give you safety. I weigh less than the average American woman. Do you? Are you also?
So I had a rough weekend this past weekend. I lost about 10 pounds because of a trip to the hospital. Normally I weigh around 165 and I'm 5'6", so
Okay, so you weigh less than the average woman.
not a surprise.
No. Here's the thing. The average weight of an American male at 5'9" probably shouldn't be 160. It probably should be maybe 170, 175 because of muscle mass. But we're also seeing people who are not eating enough protein and not exercising at all. So the issue is, the joke I just said to GPT was, that makes me sad. I'm just going to assume it's all raw muscle. Just all these super ripped women and men just bringing the average up. They're all very healthy.
Jacked.
They got good blood pressure, low sodium.
Big bones.
So
Big bones.
We already put fluoride in the water. Let's just add like some testosterone and some Ozempic. You just get your
TRT.
full suite of whatever you need. Just to put it in the government puts it in the water.
Go straight to straight Colombian.
I wonder if there are
white.
societies where they do that. Isolated pockets where they're like, let's just dose the entire population locally. Just for his experiments. I wouldn't put it past humans to do something like that.
Tim's just arguing with ChatGPT about fluoride. So.
Oh, I do this all the time. Does atrazine turn frogs gay? The claim that atrazine, a herbicide, turns frogs gay is a misinterpretation of scientific research. The studies, particularly those of Tyrone Hayes, have shown that atrazine can cause hermaphroditism, is that what it is? And other reproductive abnormalities in amphibians at certain concentrations. This means that atrazine exposure can lead to the development of both male and female sex organs in some frogs, potentially affecting their reproductive behavior and success. However, the phrase turns frogs gay is an oversimplification and misrepresentation of the scientific findings.
Why does ChatGPT think everyone's turning gay? Why is everyone turning gay, ChatGPT?
Why do you think rates of self-identified LGBTQ are going up among younger generations
Maoism.
of Americans?
What kind of answers can it give us?
Greater social acceptance, increased awareness and education, cultural shift, supportive environments, and changing definitions and understandings. Yes. Okay, hold on. Do you think maybe
Changing definitions.
Endocrine disruptors. I spelled that way wrong. Could be playing a role. I do. I think it's endocrine disruptors. There is some evidence that exposure to certain endocrine disruptors can affect sexual development. There was one study that found there was a birth control in the 80s that was very effective. However, in the instance that a woman did get pregnant while on the birth control, the likelihood that her baby would be female and a lesbian was like 90% or something.
What? That's crazy.
Endocrine disruptors are real. There's microplastics in everything. We know that they're endocrine disruptors, and we know that they're having a serious impact. So, the thing is, it's funny when a lot of conservatives say things like, oh, this is all social contagion or whatever. And I'm like, maybe a lot of it, but I do think it's possible. I mean, this is when did we shift into heavy plastics for all of our products? I mean, when I was a kid, we got our lunches served in foil, in aluminum foil. It was a tray made of metal. And if you go to an antique store, everything was metal and glass. And then into the 80s and 90s, plastics just took over everything. I mean, when I was a kid, we still had glass bottle sodas at all the corner stores. Now I go into the gas stations, all plastics.
Glass is infinitely recyclable, correct? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, just a rock, I guess.
Yeah.
But
because I know like metals aren't. But
what is it, like biphenyls and stuff in PCBs or whatever in the plastics are leaching into everything we consume. And so, I think a large component of why we're seeing a big uptick is like we've hyperdosed this generation, our generation and the next generation on endocrine disruptors.
I've got this hypothesis. You hear about microplastics in the human testicles is like off the charts right now. They're testing guys, and almost every guy they come up with has some level of microplastics.
Mine are mostly plastic.
Mostly plastic at this point.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe, and we'll see you all there.